Hi guys, so welcome to my channel. And the reason why I wanted to start this channel was I wanted a way for people who are interested in the same fields as I am, very niche fields such as fintech, cyber law, IT law, and that whole field, that intersection between fintech, IT, and law, to just have a community and a way to share resources and essentially share experience and give some I guess some outlet, some creative outlet, and some way to show our work, as Anton Cleon said. And that book, I read that book at the beginning of the year, and it's such an inspiring book because he essentially says, don't start as an expert. You don't need to be an expert for you to start, but you need to just start and show your work and show your journey and progression, so that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll have something to show for yourself, your own efforts. And I think that's why a lot of people back out once they've started something, because they don't have a track record of their progression. I could have gone one of two routes. I could have gone down the pure academic route, which was after finishing law school last year, and said, you know what, I'm going to go into the purely academic route and start doing articles, journal articles, and books on fintech law and legislation, because there's not enough resources in that niche area. So I was like, I could go into that route and produce journals and things like that. But I didn't like that route for multiple reasons, which was that essentially people in my generation don't like reading journal articles. Um, and it's also, there's no way to track your progress over 5 years. So over 5 years, you'll release two, three journal articles, and you don't see the progression from learning how to install Python, how to install Anaconda, Idle, and things like that. By the way, I don't use Idle. Nothing wrong with Idle. It's just like all my computer science friends will like start with Idle, and I don't use Idle because it's much more difficult to use. I prefer Anaconda. Anaconda is much more easier to install than Idle, and there's also the advantage of the books like Learn Python the Hard Way, the first edition, then the second edition, Learn Python 3 the Hard Way. They all say don't use Idle, even though everyone says use Idle. I used Anaconda. It's easier to install, and it's easy, and it's got so many different navigations and things like that. It's much more easier to use than Idle. So I picked Idle, and I was using this website called edub.com.org. Sorry, edub.org. It's actually really good. So those three books. Um, Let me just find the list of books for you. So I wrote down a list of books that I was using. So there's Automate the Boring Stuff with Python, Python Crash Course, Learn Python the Hard Way, Learn Python 3 the Hard Way. So there's the first edition and there's the second edition. You want to use the first edition first because it has easier exercises. You go through all the exercises daily and then you work on the project. So you want to start with the first edition, and then there's the second edition, which is like the advanced book where you learn more Python, more difficult exercises and things like that. Then after that, I wanted to do some web apps, websites, web development. So I wanted to use things like Pyramid, WebPy, and Django, so I could have like my own portfolio and a way to reflect on my journey. So those are the ones I was using. I said I don't use Idle. I use Anaconda. I use edub.com, and I use Learn Python the Hard Way. It's a little bit difficult to use in the sense that a lot of the times when you're starting to write your code, you don't understand what the hell's going on. But which is fine because he just says even if you don't understand, just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and even if you don't understand, just keep writing, keep writing. Somehow it all starts to make sense once you get to like midway, three quarters through the book. It all starts to make sense. So don't be discouraged if you don't understand the first 10, 20 exercises in this book. It's meant to take you from beginner to proficient writer. So don't be concerned. I could not install Python the first go. I had to use Anaconda. And a friend of mine was actually like, it's more difficult to install Anaconda than it is to install Python. So you're not forced to use idle. I don't know how to use it. It's tough for me. Others say you should use idle. I struggled with exiting from idle and logging out, so I did not appreciate it. Probably like maybe a few months down the line, I'll learn to appreciate idle, but let's see how it goes.